the topic tonight about apps you need to know and online safety for your students. Welcome, Micah.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here with everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Hello. So, my name is Michael Worthington, and I am a programs liaison with the Attorney General's office. And for the last probably year and a half, I have been able to travel throughout the state and talk to schools about the importance of internet safety, especially when it comes to phone safety. I will tell you, it's very good and refreshing to be able to be here and talk about this tonight, because one of the most disheartening things that I have found as I have traveled the state and in representing the public affairs portion of Attorney General Rutledge's office and speaking to schools is how many schools' parents are so disengaged with their kids when it comes to their phone. And when I get the opportunity to talk to parents, I always stress the importance of that personal communication, letting them know the parameters. Parents should know what's on the phone before and after their students use it. I can't tell you how many schools that I've been to and actually was intending to speak to parents. And one school that I went to, there was only one set of parents that showed up after it had been talked about the schools. And even the school counselor said the parents were just uninvolved. It's like they just give their kids a phone just to hush them up and put them off in another room, and they have no earthly idea what they're getting their kids involved in. I was blessed to be a part of one event one night where they had me speak in between a couple of classes, musical presentations. So they kind of trapped the parents in order to be there. But you should have seen the shock and the awe and some of the looks on the parents' faces when you begin to talk about some of the things that are on their kids' phones, and they realize that their kids actually have things, and they're just like, they had no idea. The most important part about phone safety regarding kids is parents' involvement, and it's good to have a great showing of parents here tonight. I'm going to share a screen with you in just a little bit, and we've sent it out a couple of years ago from the AG's office, and it's 16 apps that parents should know about. A couple of them you're probably going to recognize right off the bat. I do not like showing this screen, this app page to schools, because the last thing I want to do is give a student some kind of idea where they get these bright lights. So, ooh, what is that? Because some of them, you know, they started off and it's got this really nice picture and it makes it look fun. And going over some of these things, there are some apps that are even more dangerous than some of these that are very popular and emerging right now. But these were what was previously published just, I think, last year or in 2020 from the AG's office. Anytime you look at and you want to do a little bit of research on your most popular apps that are dangerous for kids, you're going to get Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram of some things you're going to get. You wouldn't think that Instagram would be something that you would have to worry about. You're going to get Discord and Twitch, which are chat sites that are based around getting into groups or chat rooms that deal with certain topics. So if you have kids that like to play games online, Roblox itself as a game has a chat feature in it, and it's very highly monitored. But when you get someone on there and they say, hey, why don't you download Discord and let's go over there and we could talk about things regarding to the game with a whole lot more people. Discord is a not highly regulated monitored chat room. And that's where you see a lot of older people getting in on pedophiles or just stalkerish mentality people getting on and just trying to bait little kids into conversations, and just trying to be very careful with some of the things that I say here. But then even today, doing a little bit more research, and we've had a rise in problems with an app called Yik Yak in the state of Arkansas, most prominently in Little Rock, Conway area. still not a lot of areas know much about Yik Yak, but Yik Yak, one psychologist said it is the most dangerous app that she can imagine or that she knows of, even that is out there. Then you've got other apps like Yubo. I was reading up about Yubo today. Yubo was something that I just heard for the first time today. And there was another one that I'm trying to think of the name. It's called Ask FM. And it's a private chat. It's kind of like a Yik Yak Instagram mix. But I'm going to share this screen that I have and show. See if I can get it to show. Did it show up? I've got 3 computer screens in front of me right now, so I don't know if it's showing this screen. It's 16 apps parents should know about. Obviously, TikTok. A lot of these apps, one of the things they don't tell you is that they willingly share information. TikTok has been known to share information of users as for kids at 13 years old. We don't even talk about the dangers of them trying to copy things that they see on TikTok with your TikTok challenges. Snapchat, you've seen a lot of dares. There were some dares where kids saw it on TikTok and Snapchat where they were assaulting teachers, destroying property. Kids ended up in the hospital. There was a very popular show that was on Netflix last year that gained popularity during COVID called Squid Games. And they started copying that game and playing it on school playgrounds all across the state and even across the country, sharing some of those games on Snapchat and TikTok. And in doing that, kids had ended up in the hospital, broken bones, broken jaws, because instead of in like the movie or like the show, when someone lost the game, they faced imminent death. When these kids were playing it on their school properties, they were actually getting assaulted, getting hit and getting beat. I've already mentioned Discord and Twitch, which are those chat apps where you can get on, you can get in certain groups, whether it's Call of Duty, Roblox, Fortnite. You can get engaged with complete strangers from across the country. Snapchat creates this persona that it's secretive because you think these messages delete. They just automatically disappear once it's viewed. But if anybody has ever learned anything about the internet, once it's out there, it's always out there. It may be hidden from plain sight, but it's still there. And there are people that know how to and have hacked servers and know how to hack servers where those images can still be found and those messages can still be found. But it kind of opens this imagination in the mind that you could think that you could get away with anything because it's only going to get seen. Well, now users of Snapchat have gone around where they are using Snapchat, and when they open up a picture or they open up a video, you can refresh it and you can take a picture of it with another device. And the next thing you know, images and videos are being shared without permission. And that's one of the dangers that it's also out there when it comes to these different apps. And the main dangers that you find when it comes to app usage and phone usage when it comes to kids is not only the presence of online stalkers and online predators and people with pedophilic mentalities and behaviors, anonymous posting, where that is what makes Yik Yak, what one psychologist said, the most dangerous app that she knows, is because it's completely anonymous. You don't know who's saying it. And that leads to things like cyberbullying. That leads to things like rise in depression among kids, because when they see things posted about them, deliberately said about them, they don't know who said it. They don't know who's posted it. They don't know who's all thinking it. And so that is something that begins to mess with the mind. You can think about the pictures and the videos that are shared and sent. when COVID shut schools down, a lot of information started coming into the AG's office at the end of the school year when after the distance learning, laptops, tablets were being turned in, principals were finding information, teachers were finding information, superintendents were calling because they were seeing as these devices were being turned in, websites that these students were going to, conversations that students were not only having with other students, but students having with complete and total strangers on these devices that belong to school. So pictures and images and inappropriate conversations being had and shared. When I go to schools, a lot of times I'm accompanied with one of the special investigations officers of the Attorney General's office. Now, a lot of the offices of the AG's office, we have public protections, a public affairs, a consumer division. We've got a Medicaid fraud divisions and a special investigations, which deals with nothing but child internet pornography cases. And one of the officers generally accompanies, and he likes to talk about some of these apps, and he's very knowledgeable about some of these. And one of the most dangerous things in some of these apps, especially like Snapchat has a Snapchat map where you can see where other users are, and it uses the location services. And there are a lot of people that can track IP addresses that have a lot of internet and computer know-how that they can end up on your front door. One of the scary things about Yik Yak, now Yik Yak was originally disbanded a number of years ago because of the rise of complaints, because when someone would complain about being cyberbullied or harassed through this app, they were very slow to react. And so it lost a lot of users and it kind of got shut down. Well, it got purchased, it got revamped, and it got brought back up again. And the actual server and the app itself got hacked. And so in the hacking, it could pinpoint a specific poster to within 10 feet of the device where a yak was posted. And so not only was it dangerous from the anonymous standpoint, like you did not know who was saying what, but now the actual person who posted this, that, or the other about someone or something could be outed right there on the app to within 10 feet of their phone or their laptop. So it was very dangerous on a grand scheme. And one of the things that the officer generally says that if you've got Snapchat, if you've got some of these apps, turn the location services, the location locks on it off, get it off, because the only people that really need to know where you are is if you were in trouble, the police and your parents. And that's it, because when you've got your location services turned on, if you've got the wrong person looking for you, they can find you if you've got that. And so you've got this rise of new apps like Ask FM, where it's kind of like a Yik Yak and Instagram mix, where you're anonymously posting pictures and things that you can be tracked, and it's not monitored. When parents normally see the 16 apps, one of the things they always go to, what in the world is wrong with the calculator? Well, that's not just a calculator, because your phone already has a calculator in it. That is actually an app hider, an app and a photo and a video hider. There are a lot of picture and video vaults that you can find where students, kids are hiding pictures that they've been sharing with one another. You've got dating sites like Tinder and Grindr that are on there that are very highly susceptible. And that's one of the things that Yubo is. Yubo, when I read it today, I was very disturbed because it is very much like a Tinder for young people. And as much as, Tinder has kind of like the social joke status around it with, telling someone to either swipe left or swipe right, you're allowing the same power to be in your kids' possession when they're on this app and they're talking to people with fake profiles, and they are allowing them access into their lives and opening into conversations. And I think the last SMAC meeting that she announced, Ms. Kirsten announced, was that you're going to have someone from the FBI talking. And one of the most notorious internet crimes against children, culprits that have ever been arrested was a man by name of Gordon Chalmers. And Mr. Chalmers was arrested, and he's facing charges on 3 continents. They're looking at a 4th right now. And for over 6 years, this man posed as being, pushing himself as being Justin Bieber online. Anybody can hide behind a fake profile. Anybody can hide behind a fake image or any stock image that they pull off of the internet. Kick is another app that we're seeing a lot of rise in. Kick is a chat app. Within the chat app itself, there's 2 other apps that you can download. One's called Flirt and one is called Meet in Chat, where it's just as that. It is engaging in more personal conversations. And a lot of these conversations are encrypted, so they're harder to track, but the right information getting shared, you're allowing the wrong people access into your life. And I'm not just talking to you as adults, but your kids, because your kids are getting on, and they're expecting first to talk with other friends from school, and then that door is open, and they're just connecting with tons and tons of people from all over the United States. And there was a song that came out years ago. I had just graduated high school, and it was called Online by Brad Paisley. I don't know if any of y'all are country music fans, but the song in 2001, 2002, whenever it came out, it was funny because, the song's about this guy. He's just an everyday guy that doesn't get a lot of attention during the day. I think the song is he's a pizza delivery guy and he lives in his mother's basement. But when he gets home and he goes downstairs and he gets online, immediately he becomes a movie star. And then sometimes he's a professional athlete or this, that, or the other. But that's the scary thing about the internet. You never know who it is that's on the other side of that screen. And a lot of these apps, they are, once they get found out, they lose a lot of users. But then the next thing you know, they transition to become something else. Yubo actually used to be called Yellow. So they transitioned it. Yik Yak got shut down, but now it's revamped. And I'm going to finalize with this before I stop and just allow y'all to ask some questions if y'all have anything. Again, I'm not the world's foremost expert on all things computer and apps. I saw a name come up on someone that had joined the chat that I know, and I know her husband very well, and he is an app designer, very smart when it comes to computer program, and probably know a little bit about that more than I would. But at the same time, one of the things that's very scary is, especially when I go to places and I talk to senior centers and I talk to adults about scams and identity theft, especially when people don't know how to use a phone properly. Kids can be very haphazard, just careless when it goes to searching and clicking on links, and whether they're looking at something that's inappropriate or they're just searching games. A lot of times when they are just clicking unsecure links, they are opening gateways into phones, into laptops, into their personal devices, their tablets. But it's not just them that they're putting in danger. It's the parents. Because you as the parents, you are the ones that probably went to AT&T or Verizon and T-Mobile, Walmart, and purchased the device with your credit card. You pay for the Wi-Fi at your home. That's probably on some kind of recurring payment option. And if you've got the right people with the right computer know-how, they can tap into those devices. They can tap into those IP addresses. And it's not just getting access to your kids or getting access to pictures and information on their phone, they're getting access to the parents. And that's where you see a lot of social security numbers compromised, a lot of personal information compromised. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Just by one person clicking on a link, someone got access to their laptop and they are just watching all of their information just out the window. And so that is one of the things that I always talk to students about when I go to their schools and I talk to them is when you are not being careful about what you're doing online, whether it's through an app or through anything on the internet, it's not just you that you're maybe or likely putting yourself out there for, but you're also putting your parents' information. And so that's something that you should always, the most important conversation that you can have with the most important person that's in that child's life to keep them safe as the parent. Sit down, talk to them, set the rules, set the guidelines, set the parameters, put the settings on the phone where it can't be changed without your passcodes being put in, and it can't be done without your know-how. Talk to them what games and what apps they're using and what they're playing and who they're talking to. Verify those things. Again, because when it comes to keeping them safe, you are the most important person in their life that can do that. And is there any questions, Ms. Kirsten? Is that okay? Did I cover your time well? And
Yeah, absolutely. I did have a question for you. You mentioned Kick, and you said there were two like offshoots from Kick, and I didn't catch the first one. The second one was Meet and Chat. What was the first one called again?
Flirt.
Flirt. Okay, that's what
Flirt.
I thought you said, but I was
Yeah.
like, did he say what he thought
I
he
mean,
said? Okay,
self-explanatory. I mean, you
right?
ever want to know what something is? I mean, you just walk in and the name says flirt. I mean, you know.
Well, and Micah, one of the things we're talking about safety with students like right now, but I have a student, a daughter in college. And so she can make decisions for herself, but you know, that's the time in her life that she's on some of these dating apps and things like
Mhm.
that. So we've had some really deep discussions about her safety and how, and like if she's going to choose to use this, because obviously she's, you know, almost 20, she can make these choices, but the safety, her and her well-being continue to be, as a parent, concern for me. And so, you know, obviously when I was 20, I wasn't navigating this. And so it's it's learning and navigating and having those open conversations with your kids. And you know, sometimes they might want to, I mean, how do you deal with the situation? And I'm going to just throw this at you. Oh, mom, you don't know what you're talking about. You didn't do this back in your day. Everything's fine. Like,
Yeah.
how, you know, as a parent, how do you navigate that kind of toss back at you? Like, you know, you old fogey, you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm old enough to have a 20-year-old, but believe it or not, but I only have a 1-year-old, and thank the Lord I haven't been having to face that yet. The best thing that you can do is just if you're, you know, seeing that your daughter is an adult, talk to her candidly and openly. Look at stories that you find online and just say, I just want you to be safe, and I want you to look at that. And some of these apps are actually created. Yik Yak was actually created and used on college campuses. And that was such a dangerous app to even use on those college campuses. But now it's been spreading into the high schools, into the junior highs. And so I think just having that open conversation, because there's enough information out there now. There's a lot of horrific stories. You know, you could talk about the Craigslist killer. There was a Tinder, a person who was a serial killer. He was on Tinder. You could talk about those things. But, you know, as long as she is aware, and I mean, there's not a perfect answer on this. That's just a conversation, and you're trusting her as a young adult to make these. And I think she's going to say, I know, you know, if somebody looks sketch, I'm gonna, or someone who looks a little sus, I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm gonna walk away from it. And that's just where you're gonna have to trust, because you can't just say, well, if you meet somebody that I don't approve, I'm gonna take your phone away. I'm like, that's not gonna work anymore. So you can't ground her.
And then tracking back, you know, we're talking about parents having conversations with kids, and sometimes just like we have good intentions when we give the kid the phone, it's because it gives us a connection to the kiddo, especially if we're working parents, and the phone is a way for us to stay connected with them. But maybe we handed the phone before we had all of those rules in place and that sort of thing. Is it, you know, as a parent, how do we walk that back and work through that? Like, what are some suggestions that you might have for that?
You know, there's a case that took place in Arkansas years ago, and I had just got out of college when it happened, and it was Casey Woody, and Casey Woody out of Greenbrier.
Greenbrier.
And so her dad was very much involved. He was a police officer. And so you're obviously very familiar with this. So he knew who she was talking to. It was just that one person that he didn't know about. But that was the one that cost him everything. You know, it cost her everything. And I think if there's ever a time where you have to sit and you have to retract, you know, you just tell them something that's real life, and that why we need to take a look at this, why you want to know. You know, online predators, you know, psychologists say that they are looking more for instant gratification. So they are generally, if they are told right off from the get, don't talk to me, or I'm going to report you, or if they are immediately ignored, they're just going to scurry away, you know, like a frightened cat or something. But the moment that they are engaged, they see this opening, and that's really where they begin to do their work as grooming. You know, setting the rules, like, listen, I want to see, because there's so many people that are out there. You don't know who they are. You need to verify that. You want to verify that, because again, it's one of those things. It is hard once you've allowed somebody to have that freedom and the leeway to do it, and now you're trying to take it back, and now you're getting bucked against the system there. But they have to know why, and as long as you're explaining them why and showing them what's out there, it's easier for them to say, okay, if that's what's going on, if that's who's really working behind the curtain, then I can trust that. And they can say, you know, I'll let you look at that. But I will tell you, from one of the things that I've seen and I've read, when they get very paranoid about the device, when they get very secretive, they always want to talk or text out of the eyesight, or away from the corner, or hiding off somewhere, you're already dealing with something that's probably that you're going to have to worry with. That's already showing a little bit of behavior that's showing concern. And so having those conversations, you could talk about Angela Dawn, you could talk about Casey Woody. There have been a number of cases where men have engaged with young people online, even in the state of Arkansas. And I even hate admitting this, but my very first school to go to in this role, we went and we spoke at a school in October. Now, I won't say where, but it was in this state, but at the end of the school year, that come out about someone who was volunteering at the school and a student. And we were talking to them about what to look out for, predatory behavior, this, that, and the other. And we had a guilty culprit sitting there in that very room. These conversations just showing them this is what's out there, and this is what you want to keep from happening. And to keep that from happening, this is what you want to do, what you want to establish, and what you want to know. And my parents were always, we're going to trust you until you give us a reason to not trust you.
Well, and I think too, Micah, as I'm listening to this, as educators, as community members, and as family members, if someone comes to us because they're concerned about their friend, or they themselves throw a red flag, one of the things that we need to do is we need to listen and take action. The other thing that I think that we need to teach our children is that if you report something because you're concerned and an adult doesn't listen to you, go to another adult until you find one that will.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the things that sometimes we forget to tell the kids, because we say go to an adult, but we don't tell them what do we do if the adult doesn't listen. And a lot of times that's when the kids don't go any further, and we just go and tell until somebody does. And I think that's a real key factor that we can continue to tell the kids, because I think that our kids will know their friends better than anyone. And I think in some of the situations that I have read or heard about, it was a friend that actually was the one that caught the situation. I think this, we had Miss Arkansas in November, and she told a story, and it was actually her that was concerned about a friend that brought the attention to this situation with the friend was probably not a good situation, and they caught it very early, and she was never in danger. but they caught the situation early.
Absolutely. And
And
having that, and I'll tell you what's remarkable is when I've seen in just this school year alone, I've seen 2 cases where 2 students come forward right after giving the presentation, right with the principal, and I was in the presence when it happened. And the fact that there was somebody there that would take action immediately. One, we immediately called parents, called the police, got them involved with the situation. The other was actually more of a situation where the girl actually asked the question in the group. And when she detailed what happened, right there, the principal stood up. He said, when we find them, we're going to have them arrested. And, you know, a lot of times kids think that if they've done something, they harbor that guilt and they're afraid to let somebody, because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get grounded. Lord have mercy if they get grounded from their phone for 2 months. And I told this one person, I said, I would rather you lose your phone for 2 months and have to live with the guilt for the next 2 years of this. But when it all came forth, she was able to get help, and they were able to get matters taken care of. And being able to have someone to help you with it, whether it be a principal, a teacher, or a parent, I mean, they get that help immediately. They are not afraid to step up and say, we'll persecute them. I don't care who they are in this school. We'll send them to jail, you know, and that was helpful.
yes, I put in the chat, but also feel free to unmute that if you have a question that you'd like to ask Micah or our SMACtalk team. If you want to put it in the chat or unmute, we've got a few minutes that we can take some questions before we close out our webinar for tonight.
I hear crickets chirping.
Mr. Girdler has shared with us that he thought this was excellent. I know that I learned a lot more apps than I was aware of tonight. I kept track of the 16 apps that you had on there, but I wrote down the ones that weren't. And I have a presentation, that slideshow that I shared tonight with the links that we shared earlier. I'm going to put a note at the end of that slideshow of those additional apps that you shared, so that parents can have access to that. For those of you that attended tonight, or those that registered or were not able to attend, this recording will be made available by the end of the week, and along with the slides that we shared this evening, so that you have access to those. Let me continue to share my screen. I have a few more things to share with you. Oops. All right. I apologize, y'all. I'm on a small screen tonight and I'm having a few technical issues. Again, I wanted to remind you guys that we have our SMACtalk resources on SMACtalk.info. If you would like to find more information about family resources for social media awareness, or with student resources or teacher resources, all of those are there in the SMACtalk.info website. On January 9th, we are going to have Jessica Franklin. She is from the FBI. Her title is Training and Civic Liaison Specialist, and she's going to be sharing with us sextortion and what parents need to know. We hope that you'll join us for that information. If you are not already signed up for and would like to sign up for our SMACtalk info newsletter, you can do so by going to smactalk.info/newsletter to sign up for our newsletter. Thank you. We appreciate your attendance tonight. And I also wanted to let you know I have added the additional app shared tonight, and I will add in there Flirt, which was shared by Mr. Worthington, so that you'll have that in addition to the website that was shared at the beginning of our webinar. Appreciate everybody's attendance tonight. And I hope that you guys have great conversations with your kiddos regarding safety online and the information that was shared. Have a great evening. Thank you.